Well, here we are then for another league race, and today this is the Mexican Grand Prix in WOR in PC Split 1. And yeah, we're back for another round of this championship, and this one is going to be the last league race I did in my previous house where I was living at, basically. And of course recently I've moved. Now first of all, before we jump into the action, if you haven't seen the previous episode, I'll leave it linked up in the top right, or the previous race at Spa. But there's the championship standings on screen right now. So Jake Benham leads the way, Shanaka Clay P2 and 50 points behind, so Jake has a massive gap. Overall, a pretty close championship. Jarno Opmeer joined the league in the last race, and he won the Belgian Grand Prix, I believe. So things are going to hot up and get pretty tight moving forward, and hopefully I can try to improve and close the gap to some of the drivers up ahead. So yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot of these guys are now focusing on esports, so they're not really racing anymore. People like Shanaka, Karaton, and Time and Shooter. So yeah, with that said, we jump into qualifying, and WR is a full qualifying session, so this is Q1. And you just saw at the start of the video my first time lap on the softs. I then went for a second push lap on that set of tyres, which ended up being invalidated, so I ended up aborting and going back to the pits. I put on a fresh set of softs, and we're going to try and go for one last lap to get out of Q1 and get into Q2. So currently P19, about to be P20, as we haven't set a great lap so far, 14.3, and there's more time to find. So into the first corner, we're going to try to be aggressive over the curbs as we get a raid from F1 Esports Pro Marcel Kiefer during my Twitch stream on this lap. Marcel, cheers to the raid, man. Thank you very much. I'm in the middle of something here real quick. As always, very, very appreciative of a raid on Twitch whenever that happens, but the timing of this wasn't ideal. But nonetheless, we're going to push on with our lap, and I didn't do much practice. I've done about an hour's practice for this. I was so busy I didn't have a chance, but you can see here we've got some traffic in the way into the mid-sector. Oh, that just put me off so much. Fuck's sake. Oh, that just put me off so much, man. And it's a shame. Flores Villa's just not quite getting out of the way there. It wasn't a big distraction, but just enough that it just took my eye off a little bit, and I wasn't quite able to make the apex and, you know, keep it within track limits. Unfortunately, it's our last lap, so we're not going to have time for anything else. So that's going to be it for us. Game over and end of Q1. And yeah, not very happy with that one. The lap would have been enough for P15, and we could have got to Q2 quite comfortably, considering the pace wasn't there. My personal best is a 13.8, I believe, heading into this. So there was more time in it, but unfortunately, that's it for qualifying. We're out in Q1 much earlier than I expected, and a bit of a shame, but I'm not going to report it. I can't really be bothered. Flores is out in Q1 with us, along with Lewis Welch, who of course is my PSGL teammate, Jonas Rutten and Felipe Souza, my Alfa Romeo teammate. So yeah, a bit annoying, a bit gutted. I could have gotten to Q2, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. So let's move into the race. Now heading into this race, we have rain forecast for about the midway point of this race. Everybody is starting on mediums except for Thomas Harvey, who is the pole man. So we're going to see how this works out. Not a lot of difference in tyre compound, as I said. Everyone running medium, so it's going to be quite hard to make a difference. So P20, last question mark challenge as we get underway, and it's a great start off the line, and we get the edge on our teammate, on Felipe Souza. But I'm not going to use any battery. We're last. We're not really going to make a lot of progress, and there's going to be chaos into the first three corners. So realistically, I don't need to drain the battery that much. Instead, we're going to send it on the brakes here. Felipe leaves the door wide open, so we're going to have a little look up the inside. Now around the outside of turn 2, and then into turn 3, we get the inside. There's a bit of contact there between Felipe and Jonas, and we're going to move up into P19 for now. But Felipe coming back at us here, using quite a bit of battery to try and get back ahead. I'm going to hold the inside line, but again, we've got a big brake check up ahead with the AI and all the other cars around us in this case, which are, of course, other people, not exactly AI. So yeah, into the mid-sector now. Felipe is still on the inside. I'm trying to fight back, and we do get some lovely traction around the outside of the double right-handers, and we make the move up into the S section, and we can now slot in behind my teammate in PSGL, Lewis Welch, here in the mid-sector. Track limits is going to be fun. As you hear me say, track limits is going to be fun around here. I thought I could have maybe gone for it, and I do actually go for it on the brakes on Lewis Welch as we now head into the baseball stadium. I kind of get roadblocked with the two wide, so I have nowhere to go. I try to get the cutback on Yari Fitz, but I end up exposing myself to Felipe. Luckily, we stay ahead, but Yari's actually going to pit due to damage, I believe, on the front wing. So Bit of a shame that sequence didn't quite work out for us. Also, ERS, very important to try and save. Go, Felipe, you can go, mate.
Green flag.
I'm not going to waste my battery. He can do whatever he wants. So as you can hear me say, ERS is going to be very, very important here. We let Felipe go because he was just draining his battery, and I'm not going to waste my battery battling for P20. So we'll go ahead, we'll let him go by, we'll just slot in for P19 for now. Again, we're playing the long game, okay? 200 IQ plays, we're trying to be patient. Trying to save tyres. Going to knock down the rear diff because of that reason. So let me explain. We're going to try and play the long game, which means we're going to try and save tyres, save battery, and go long, because the rain is forecast to arrive somewhere, I'd say, around lap 20 to lap 22. Maybe even lap 24 to 25. It depends when it arrives. It could also arrive as early as lap 18. I'm hoping it arrives later as we get our first one of the track limits, because those who qualified on mediums in Q2 will probably struggle for tyre wear at the end. So yeah, we're going to go long, hopefully get the undercut and make these tyres work right at the end, especially if we have good tyres in the mixed conditions. We could be pretty quick. So yeah, end of lap 2, and we're still here. That's the annoying thing, if you get too close to a car you can't see the track. As you hear me say there, if you get too close, I had this issue I believe in the last race, and it's an issue that I have quite often at many tracks. As we're going to look at the weather forecast here.
I think we may see some rain. ETA is about 15 minutes. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
That's interesting. Rain looks like it could be on the way a bit earlier than forecast, which is not ideal, as Lenny Pepinter is the first man to get a time penalty up ahead in the Aston Martin. So all the way on to lap 3 now, and going to try and keep the pressure on, but we have a bit of a moment at the final corner here, and cut the corner. Oh, what? That's bollocks. How did I get a warning for that? Oh, come on. That's so shit. That's not a warning. Now, we do get a bit of a dubious warning out of the final corner, and if you watch it back, you'll see I'm actually running at half throttle to avoid getting the warning, so that will get removed. So right now we're still technically on 1 warning from earlier on lap number 2, but in game we're currently on 2 warnings already on lap 3. We cut all the way on to lap 10 though, long way into the race, and pole sitter Thomas Harvey is in the pits for Red Bull. So Harvey pits, and no more penalties. Cheers, Lasser. That's the update. So just Pepinter and Flores for now. Now you can hear me in the background. My Twitch chat is running me through the penalties, and so far it's Lenny Pepinter and Flores Viers who have time penalties as it stands right now. Up ahead, Felipe running off track as we try to put some pressure on. We've got Thomas Harvey now on the comeback behind us. Having said that, on to lap number 12 now. So again, we're skipping quite a way into the race. We get a yellow flag as Vexit gets taken out. Yellow flag, and we're up to P17 now, gaining another place in this race. There we go. That was going to happen at some point. People get impatient. Bad news is we've now fallen out of the DRS train, which is fantastic. But yeah, people get impatient from following for so long. So it's bound to happen at some point. Now you can hear me say, and again, this is going back to the 200 IQ strats and playing the long game. When there's a DRS train and everybody's in it within a second and getting DRS, drivers tend to get frustrated and not being able to make a move, and sometimes you'll see some people go for some silly moves or make some silly mistakes, and that's what you saw right there. But now lap 16, the rain is just starting to fall a little bit, and it's gone overcast. Now you can see Felipe's light just flashed there for a brief second, which means he's got no ERS left. We tried to have a look around the outside of the baseball stadium, not quite able to make it work, but you can see my battery compared to his is a lot better, so we've got plenty of charge to use, and we should be able. Terrible final corner, and it's raining. Here we go. As you hear me say, we should be able to make the move, as we're going to get another weather check here real quick.
Let's be mindful of the conditions. The track is getting wetter. Recommend you stay out for now though. We'll be much slower if we move on to inters this early.
So there you go, there's the update on the weather. But we're at that phase now where it's on the crossover. It's arrived a bit earlier as we get a penalty. Now, that is technically warning number 2, as we're going to try and go for the move on Felipe here. Into turn number 4, we're going to go to the outside, around the outside. Can we make it work? Not quite, as Felipe cuts us off there and stays ahead. My own teammate's going to ruin this race. As you can hear me say, my own teammate is going to ruin my race, because if you go back to like lap 1, the way Felipe was, racing me, when you don't really have to race that hard for P19 and P20 realistically, I was much faster, but I just couldn't get by. And yeah, right now I'm trying to use my fresher tyres and my tyre saving to my advantage to try and push and make some progress. The rain is falling, so At any moment we can go to the inters. The rain has arrived earlier than planned. I was hoping for it to arrive around lap 20. We then could have made quite a big difference in this race. You would have seen a lot of guys risking punctures and running stupidly high tyre wear to make it onto the inters, but that wasn't the case, unfortunately. And yeah, we're now going to try and get past Felipe here.
I thought about it on that lap. Well, not yet. It's a bit too early.
Now, you can even say, I thought about it on that lap about pitting for inters, and in hindsight, I wish I did. That was the perfect moment to go for the inters. But nonetheless, we're going to go for the move here into turn 1. Felipe out of DRS. He's got no DRS in the car ahead, so we're going to breeze through and make the move. But you can see there's no grip at turn 1 or turn 2. The track has suddenly changed from the final corner down to the first corner. It's got a lot worse, and it's now not possible anymore.
Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
I should have pitted that last lap. I had a feeling.
And you can see when you get that radio message, it's time to pit for inters, and that was the moment. You will see here on the in-lap, we actually gained so much on the car's ahead, and we dropped Felipe by 1.3 seconds. I had so much pace in these current track conditions, and if I just pit the lap before, I think we could have been in a great position. Now what I have done is I've gone for a wet setup, so I've gone +1 on the front and rear wing for this race. I took the risk in qualifying with the setup, so we've got a bit more downforce for this because I was planning for the wet conditions. So let's see if the gamble pays off for us on the inters.
Just can't believe I got a penalty, man. That's so annoying. Anyway, let's see what happens. Now we've got the wet setup on. Let's see if it works.
So yeah, back on the way. Intermediates on, and we're going to try and send it on this restart and see what happens. We've got a few cars, of course, who are staying out because they couldn't box on that lap. So yeah, right now we're P14. We've gained a bunch of places on that crossover phase. We've even jumped a couple of cars in the pits who may have had wing damage. So right now we're looking pretty decent. The issue is, you can see, just on the outlap alone, I've lost a load of time to Lenny Pepinter up ahead, and also Jeffrey Ritchie behind it is catching up. So it seems like earlier my pace isn't quite there, as now we've got the final cars in for inters.
All right, let's go.
The rain's getting worse. Be very careful. These conditions are only getting worse. Watch out for standing water. Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
And there we go, there's the full rundown, and we're now P11 in this race, only one place off the points, and technically with Pepinter having 6 seconds, and we technically have 2 warnings right now and not a penalty. We're looking on for P10 right now, and I believe Flores has a penalty up ahead as well, so we may gain even another place, as yeah, now Lenny up to 9 seconds. But yeah, right now, lap 25, quite a way into this race, nothing happened on the inters, but I didn't have the pace. I went for the wet setup and it hasn't seemed to work. The pace isn't there.
Tyres fine.
You can even say my tyres were fine. And to be fair, I'd been struggling.
Let's gamble.
And the pace of the inters wasn't there the entire stint. And it was only now, the last 1 or 2 laps, that I'd started to find some pace.
Stay a while. Doesn't look like it's moving anytime soon. It's hard to say if inters or wets are better right now.
So yeah, at the time it was heavy rain, and I thought to myself, you know what, we're just outside the points, let's gamble on the full wets and let's see what happens, because the rain is coming down pretty hard right now.
What? Come off it, bro. Honestly, the warnings. Let's go. Let's take a chance.
So yeah, that warning will also get removed. So right now we are still on 2 warnings, but if I get 1 more, the penalty will stay. So we can't get a warning in the last 10 laps of this race.
Hopefully my pace in this is better.
Back on the way on the full wets, and yeah, we're going to try and push on because the pace at the inters wasn't there, so hopefully we can do better on the wets.
10 laps to go. If I just got to make sure I don't get another warning.
As you hear me say, they just got to make sure we don't get another warning. Hopefully these tyres were better because the inters were only really good for the last 2 laps or so, and I had to pit. But yeah, intermediates, let's send it, and we've got a few cars in the pits already here.
I don't know, man. We're ahead of Harvey still, which is good. Well, let's push.
Heavy rain will be staying with us for a while now, at least a 20-minute window of heavy rain.
So there's the update. We're looking at least 20 minutes of heavy rain, so it should be full wets to the very end of the race. So I think we've done the right thing here on these tyres, and now we've just got to try and make that pace work. So Felipe stayed out in the inters, my teammate. It hasn't worked out. We're much quicker, so we're going to try and pass him now. I'm trying to keep up with Lenny Pepinter again. We have gained some time back with the undercut, pitting for the wets a bit earlier, but the pace isn't there. Thomas Harvey also a lot quicker than me with a fast lap right now, but we seem to be struggling again on the full wets.
Fuck, game over. Game over.
And as you hear me say game over, we get the race deciding final warning, and that is warning number 3. So the 3-second time penalty is going to stick. We've got Felipe with penalties, we've got Pepinto with penalties, Jonas behind on penalties as well. Only Thomas Harvey right now is clean. We made the move on Felipe, but now you can see Harvey is going to use this to make a move on both of us in the slipstream here.
I'm actually having to drain battery here.
And you can hear me say I'm having to drain battery as here goes Thomas Harvey up the inside into turn 1. I get my braking completely wrong, and I've got so much understeer as Harvey goes around the outside making a lovely move, but he runs it in a bit wide, running off track. So I've still got a chance here, and we're going to fight back with some battery use of our own. Down into turn 4, Harvey goes defensive. We're going to go to the outside on the brakes into turn 4. We swoop around the outside, picking up the inside line into turn 5, and that is an absolute beauty. But now Harvey on the inside, we give him a bit of a squeeze, leaving a bit of room on the apex, and we managed to stay ahead, and that was a nice bit of racing there. So GG to Thomas Harvey for that one. Really good racing, and a decent little scrap. My only really good battle of the race, really, besides the one with Felipe on lap 1. So yeah, all the way to lap 32 now, and we've caught up to Lewis Welch, who is on the inters. He didn't pit.
Look at the traction in the intermediates, man.
But unfortunately, just as we've caught him, it seems like the rain is starting to ease off and go back to light rain conditions, which is not great.
Forecast suggests the rain is going to be lightening up over the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. You should start finding more grip as we clear the standing water.
Let's go,
Forward
Dirk.
wets
Cheers to the sub, man.
Fastest tyre for now.
Hope you're well, mate. Good to see you, buddy.
So yeah, shout out to Dirk Chocolate for the sub on Twitch, and yeah, love that guy. But as you can see and hear me say, the rain is looking like it's going to slow down. Lewis actually lets me by here, of course. He's my PSDL teammate, and you can see that I'm faster. But we are in the crossover.
I think Lewis let me by there. Job done. Let's try and stick with these two.
So yeah, right now I'm trying to keep up with Flores and Lenny Pepinta. They both have penalties, so it looks like we're on calls for P10. The only thing we can do now is in the final laps try to get at least a 3-second gap to Thomas Harvey. The gap right now is 1.2. He hasn't quite got the pace anymore to keep up.
Big sesh. Respectable sesh, yeah. Let's try and stick with Lewis here.
But you can see Lewis Welch goes by, and I'm going to pretty much say at this point the crossover happened and it was back to inters. So the gamble for wets hasn't worked out. We've actually lost out to a few positions to guys who I was ahead of before. But anyway, we're going to try and follow Lewis. I've tactically let him by on the last lap so that he doesn't get a massive gap on us and pull away on the inters. I'm going to try and follow him though. You can see the gap to Harvey is less than a second. And now cutting on to lap 36, one lap later, I've been pushing quite hard. My pace is actually quite strong. Similar to the inters, I've come good right in at the end on the last 2 laps here.
Fair play, John. Nice work, mate.
And you can see the gap is 2.5, so we've gained 2 seconds in the last lap or so, and we are flying right now. I'm trying to push and give it absolutely everything to get that 3-second gap. Heading into the baseball stadium, 2.6, as it now ticks over to almost 2.7 now at the final corner. It's going to be close on the run to the line. Will we get enough clearance? Will we get P9? The answer, no, not quite. I got a point, so we'll take that. So unfortunately we didn't quite get it. We missed out by 0.2 of a second, but still P10, we got a point. And I think looking at it on paper, Jeffrey Ritchie, who finished P4, he did not pit for the full wets, and I was ahead of him. If you remember earlier on, when I picked for the full wets, he was the car that was behind me. So in hindsight, pitting for the full wets wasn't the move, and staying out on the inters was the play. Still, we got a point. I'm not too upset with that. John Evans picking up a win ahead of Jarno Opmeer, so fair play to John. Nice work, mate, if you're watching. And the championship standings look like this. So we've overtaken Tom and Shooter. Jarno Opmeer overtakes us as well at the same time, so we stay exactly where we were at the start of the episode. The next race is Portugal, and then it's Saudi Arabia, Imola, and Interlagos. So 4 very tasty tracks to go to round off the season. But there you go, guys. There's a lot for today's video and episode. A bit of a what if at qualifying gone smoothly. I think we could have had a really strong race, and in hindsight I think staying on the inters was the play. But still, I took a chance, took a gamble, and I was P10 at the time, or P11 at the time of taking the switch to full wets, and I finished P10, so technically the gamble did work, but there was a lot more potential staying out in the inters. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the race. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more. As always, a big shout out to the channel members for supporting the content. Finally, check out the 2 videos on screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully a better race for us. But cheers guys for watching, and I'll see all of you next time.